Thanks for staying with us. Now we're staying with U.S. involvement in countries around the world. The dust raised by a U.S. Congressman, Scott Perry's claim that the United States Agency for International Development spent about $690 million annually in funding terror activities, has refused to settle. Mr. Perry from the Republican Party, while citing alleged misappropriation of public funds, made the assertion in a hearing of the subcommittee on delivering on government efficiency. While the Nigerian government has yet to issue an official statement regarding the claims by the U.S. lawmaker, Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa, on an interview with a foreign news platform, expressed concerns about the activities of international NGOs who operate in conflict zones like the Northeast, where terror organizations are active. There is now a growing call for investigation into the U.S. Congressman's claim. International affairs analyst Dr. Ambrose Igboke said this may not be a new trend. He alleged that some advanced countries finance crises to trigger regime change in some parts of the world. A former Nigerian ambassador to Brazil and Argentina, Dele Cole, questioned whether the funds were given to Nigeria in the form of cash and called on the federal government to investigate the claim. He argued that if the U.S. congressman knows such act is being carried out by a U.S. agency, the country should have handled it from its end instead of waiting for the coming of a new president to unravel such evil. Now let's discuss this some more. We're now joined by a security expert and former director with the Department of State Services, Mike Ejiofor. But first, TVC News senior reporter Stephen Essien. Okay, I understand we do not have Stephen at this moment. We'll just go straight to the former DSS director, Mike Ejiofor. Good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
So, from your experience, is it likely that the claim of the U.S. congressman could be true? And if it is, why will it take this long before becoming an open issue?
Well, until the matter is investigated and authenticated, I will not say whether it's true or not. But from general intelligence practice, some of these aid organizations, like USAID, are front organizations of governments. Don't also forget that USAID was formed in 1961, and they have been carrying out aids in industrial in areas of health, industrial development, and what have you. But you know, in intelligence practice, we have what is called front organizations. These are front organizations. They might look innocent, looking that they are harmless, but beneath it, we have some hidden agenda, like carrying out espionage and all this. So I wouldn't be surprised if actually USAID is being used as a front to further the activities of Boko Haram. And the reasons are obvious. If they continue to fund this organization with a view to undermining government, the American government, which also protects its own interests, be selling their arms. But it will be hasty to take a decision now until investigation is carried out. So I want to use the opportunity to call on the National Assembly, the State Security Service, and the NIA, which probably this enforced.
I will get to that in just a moment, Mr. Ejiofor. But I wanted to stay on, the international space where you have NGOs playing. Within the space of international engagement, are there rules of engagement that must be followed by such bodies that front as humanitarian organizations operating in foreign land, particularly in crisis zones? Is there a set of engagement or standard operating procedures that they have to follow?
Of course, they are regulated. They are regulated. If they are coming into the country, they are regulated. But once they go out of the normal functions of which they were registered or they come into existence, they will be called to question. USAID, you recall that there was a time the Chief of Defense Staff raised the alarm that some of these organizations are even aiding the terrorists. And an example is the issue of, when you look at the front of some of these non-governmental, I'm not saying all of them, non-governmental organizations, going to rent accommodation, offices for 10 years. Does it mean they don't want the war to end? That you come and rent a place in a crisis area for 10 years? What are they doing? What is their interest that they will rent the accommodation for 10 years, serving as offices? Perhaps they have some other hidden agenda. But like I said, this calls for further investigation, no matter where it's coming from.
More specifically, Mr. Ejiofor, I mean, you were a director, at DSS. Did you, whilst you were there, did you notice any such fraudulent activities by some NGOs? And how do you engage? I'm not just talking about the DSS now, security agencies. How do you engage with these NGOs? Is there any sort of monitoring?
Of course, there must be monitoring, especially for the internal non-governmental organizations operating in Nigeria. They are regulated. And I can tell you, if the activities are found to run against the interests of the country, they are prosecuted. In intelligence practice, in espionage, for instance, we have what is called legal and illegal residents. The illegal residents are people operating under diplomatic cover, like the embassies. Others who are coming into the country as engineers, as artisans, and all these front organizations, they come here under the guise that they are coming to do other things, but they are working for the interests of their country. So that's what we are taught. But if they are discovered, they are prosecuted. But for the legal residents, if they are caught in the process of espionage or any other action detrimental to the interests of Nigeria, they are deported under what we call personal non-grata, not to visit Nigeria again. But for the non-legal residents, for the illegal residents, they are prosecuted and they are subjected to long terms of imprisonment, even at times, depending on the level of to death.
And did you have any reason to flag any such agencies, and did you make any arrests, whilst you were there as a DSS director?
So why should you be asking me that kind of question? Now, if I did, that this is not the forum to answer such questions.
But do you suspect any political interference in all of this?
Oh, political interference in America or Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
Well, I don't see political interference. But if we want to talk of political interference, it should be from America. The current president of America is he likes fishing in troubled water. So he might instigate all this for political reasons to discredit the former government or make whoever has before him to be discredited. So on their part, yes, there could be political, but in Nigeria, I don't think there's any political reason until the matter is investigated, concluded, and the decision reached.
There are calls for investigation into this allegation. I know that you already started touching on this when you mentioned the National Assembly, but who should be investigated? Is it the U.S. agency, the NGOs, or the Nigerian authorities?
Well, like I said, the National Assembly has oversight functions. The NIA carries the function of gathering intelligence issues involving other countries outside Nigeria, while the SSS investigates matters of internal security. So these three bodies should work together to look at the allegations made, because there's no way the agencies can know the exact amount released. Like the congressman said, even if you know the exact amount released, you will not state exactly what the money is meant for or what they are used for, except they tell you this is what we use it for and this is what we are using it for. So it becomes a problem, but it needs to be investigated.
Interesting development. I'm sure Nigerians will not let this rest until there is some assurance or statement coming from the government. Thank you so much for your time. Former DSS Director Mike Ejiofor.